have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Or do not.
I'm not afraid.
There is no try.
Welcome! My name is Sugi, I'm from the Knights of Ren, and with me is this amazing man who plays Palpatine, who kills Ewoks during his spare time. Minion, how you doing?
Pretty good. So, on stream right now, we've got on the left is Steve Parker, and he is playing on Satine droids again. And on the right, we've got, looks like Jango Dengar again, so the same game.
So quick, while we're waiting for them to shuffle up, tell us a joke.
What's brown and sticky?
Oh no, a stick.
There it is.
The only reason I know that is I just watched Pinky and the Brain last week,
Okay.
and that was the episode I watched.
That's my go-to joke. Sorry to the stream.
Go watch Pinky and the Brain, it's a good show. Yeah, where he plays the unknown comic with the bag over his... Nothing related to Destiny. Okay, I gotta do work.
Alright.
You want to do some dinner after this?
I ate.
Maybe some playtest. Okay.
Definitely doing beers.
So,
All right.
roll off. It looks like Jango Dengar rolled a 6, and he is reading the plot right now. I think that's Death Watch Hideout, where you get a resource and put a card back if you can spot Satine. But they will be playing on the other one, which is... I think that's the one probably where you gain a resource, and if you spot a bounty hunter, you make your opponent lose a resource.
Sounds like a thing that might be being played.
That's what I would play on Jango Dengar.
So let's talk a little bit about what we could potentially see coming out of this early game compared to the previous game.
Well, the first thing is that Dengar activated without a bounty coming out. So that says that he probably didn't draw one, and he's missing on that free damage.
Right, and we're also seeing Satine activate without the droids, so we could potentially see a big Droids Day Out play or an off-the-radar play, which will allow both 3PO and R2 to activate, which will put a lot of dice on the table, and with the plot, they can do two of the after activation abilities.
So the Jango Dengar did not find the downgrade, but he did roll into nearly max damage. So he's threatening 6 damage. And Steve's going to roll out C-3PO, probably just going to resolve all that money.
Or you could resolve 2 focus.
Yeah, I think he's going for the money, and he's going to net 4 more from that, and that means he can play whatever he wants.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Why is he shooting for this early game resource ramp instead of damage, you think?
Well, his characters don't have a lot of direct damage, only R2 does. So what he's probably trying to do is find those damage sides with his upgrades, and there's a Chewie's blaster.
All right, let's see that. What is that, 3?
And that is a good Chewie's blaster die. He rolled exactly what he wants.
Now, here's a good question. Where are the droids going to put the damage? What's the big threat? Because we saw Jango go out and Dengar come back. Do you try and flip it so you kill Dengar now, but Jango has the capacity to ramp out and get bigger as he grows with upgrades?
That is the question. I don't have an answer.
Wait to throw that back at me. Thank you, Minion.
So...
All right, so he's going for Jango.
If I were in the Satine player's spot, I would be calculating how much damage I'm likely to be able to do. Right. Now, one of the problems with going after Jango is it plays like the Bounty Hunter mask. He wants that on Jango anyway. Yeah. If you'd gone after Dengar, he'd have to think maybe I have to put this on Dengar and I don't get the money.
Right. Now, we do see the 4-for-1 come out of the Chewie's blaster, so you're going to be able to just use that die for 7 damage over its first time on the table, which is an insane value for realistically what you're playing. But we're going to see Electroshock here, so we're going to get rid of that focus. 4 damage is going to go into Jango.
And he could not electroshock the Chewie's blaster because it's higher than 2.
Absolutely.
So Jango is in pain, but so is C-3PO. And that is the plot. It is what I thought it was. It looks like he gains a resource and disrupts one because he can spot a bounty hunter.
So let's get into the head of the bounty hunter deck. What do they need to do next turn to start taking characters off the field?
Well, the first thing is to draw a bounty and get it on C-3PO so that Dengar will do the automatic damage, and that puts him at 2, which any one of his character dice can then potentially reach the 2 damage required to finish him off.
And let's also talk a little bit about what we're seeing the droids player. So he played out a support.
He played out a hired muscle. It's all pay sides, but it only costs 1. And it looks like he is just pitching to try and find a damage side on that.
Right.
And he just pitched to flee the scene. I think he probably assumed that he is not fast enough to get that off.
So here we go. Here's going to be a little bit of damage into, I'm assuming, Jango, putting pressure on a potential early activation and kill. If he were to get, say, droid stay out, he could activate both, flip the Chewie's blaster, resolve it, and just eviscerate the Jango, because he's sitting on, 6, 10?
Yeah, Jango's on 10 out of 12 because of the bounty hunter mask.
Right.
So almost any damage side will kill Jango.
Now, as we said previously, it'd be real nice to play easy pickings, but wouldn't you want to play a probe right here? Real bad? You don't have to legally play it. You could just have it, do it if they don't call you out on it.
I mean, there's a lot of decks that would get a lot better if they could run probe.
What if it was neutral? Gasp. Anyways, a mill player can dream, but the reality is the Dengar deck is in a weird spot because Jango is on the verge of death's door, and there's not a lot of damage on the droids. Plus, they have hired muscle on the table. That's just going to put pressure. Now,
so he did show potentially lethal, but there's an Ewok ambush coming out, and this is a guaranteed kill on Jango because of R2's focus ability.
Now, can you explain what that card does?
So Ewok ambush is you can activate. It gives you ambush. And you can activate either an Ewok or a non-elite character. So R2 is non-elite. So, all right, that's unfortunate. It looks like both players forgot that the Ewok ambush had ambush, and he did not resolve his dice, which let Jango resolve one of his dice before the ambushed action was taken.
Or we could be wrong.
Well,
so we'll just put that out there. It's possible. Not likely, but possible. But we'll say Minion knows.
So we'll see if that 2 damage is going to be...
Comes back to haunt him.
If that'll be impactful. But I think that the droids player is so far ahead right now that it is not likely to matter because that Chewie's blaster is going to take Dengar to half if it gets resolved.
Right. And that's just something, for those of you who are watching, should always be aware. It is the responsibility of both players to maintain a game state. So never really feel pressured to just move quickly if you feel like your opponent's trying to push you. It's always fine to take a deep breath, look at your game state, check your cards, and make sure that you're resolving everything appropriately. Because sometimes it could come to haunt you if you're not, paying attention, or you might just feel rushed and you're like, oh, I missed a trigger. And that's never a good feeling.
And quick shout out to Steve's daughter, Brooke. Go ahead and tell him that he missed an ambush action.
Yeah, text him real quick. Hey, you done goofed, Aaron. All right, so there's no really good way to sugarcoat this, but it's not looking good. However, we said that in the last game, and we were proven wrong.
Yeah, it's just a pulse cannon away from victory on Dengar's side.
So we could see another really nutty turn where just damage appears out of nowhere. But is that likely in this situation?
Well, Dengar's already activated. I think C-3PO should get activated here, or Field Medic to keep him alive. I would probably just go for the activation and let him die, just to guarantee that I get that 5 damage into Dengar.
You would say that as a mill player.
Sometimes you have to know when your character is dead, because he's going to die anyway.
Yeah.
With the plot will let him remove that blank and do 1 damage, I believe, to C-3PO.
But we're playing Monopoly Money with damage counters. You take one off, you put one on, flippy floppy. But we should see a resolution of the blaster right here.
And he still has Fateful Companions, so he gets 2 dice resolutions. So
he takes...
He does do the 5.
Yeah, does 5 for 1. Take
and
$2.
The shield doesn't matter because the plot is unblockable damage. So he correctly takes the resource and gets the 2, and then C-3PO dies.
All right, so
mission accomplished.
We're getting back to that same position we were previously, where Satine's just kind of hanging out by herself. R2's got some stuff going on. We've also got the hired gun. So we're still in a better place for the droid player, but we could still see that cannon come out and do some real work. Oh, speak of the devil.
Speak of the pulse cannon. So this game just got a lot closer again, because as we saw last game, that pulse cannon is a dead R2 guaranteed next round.
And as you may or may not know, Minion can actually determine what the top card of your deck is without even looking, which is really scary, because he did that to me earlier in a game today, and I was pretty sure he was cheating. It still hasn't been determined.
I just picked the card that would hurt me the most.
That's true.
And that is always the next card the opponent draws.
So now we see a second hired mercenaries. And where are we going here? Because we have Satine, who can reroll. You have the hired... Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like you do the hired first, and then the Satine gives you the reroll, in case you get a bad roll here.
Right, so it looks like Satine is out of money, so he really needs to find some cash on the Satine dice to resolve anything from those hireds. And
why do you think? Oh, because he has the focus. He's going to focus into $1.
Right, so he can focus into the $1. He's got the 3 showing.
Did Dengar claim? Oh, he must have claimed.
Oh, I think he did claim to remove the money so that he couldn't pay for a fickle.
Gotcha.
Or not a fickle, a hired.
All right, so we're looking at a lot of damage, but every single side on hired mercenaries costs $1.
So this is going to be frustrating for Steve because he's showing lethal, but he has to focus out of it to get the money to resolve a fickle 3.
Or he could attempt to resolve it and his opponent just not catch him on it.
I don't recommend that course of play.
I mean, I didn't say it was a legal play.
But this will put Dengar to 2 health remaining. And that is a guaranteed dead to another Ewok ambush play because the top number on the Chewie's blaster is a 2. So we'll see what happens at the start of this round.
Well, we have to be careful, because last game we thought this was a wash. And boy, we saw something.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. That was destiny. A great game.
But I think Dengar really has an uphill battle here.
I mean, we've seen it before where you just roll out max damage, your opponent gets nothing, you blow out a character, then they roll out nothing, and you just keep pushing. All right, what did we get here? Lots of damage, it seems.
So Dengar shows 2 range, 1 melee, and that looks like the 3-for-1 probably. I believe those are the only pay sides on the pulse cannon.
Yeah. So he's showing.
So there's 5. The Ewok ambush. If he remembers his ambush action this time, that is a dead Dengar.
All right, Steve. Do we have to tell your daughter to call you out again or not? Nope.
And he does just resolve
all right, there goes the shake.
Chewie's blaster.
That's game. So let's talk a little bit about what happened differently here, because we saw the exact same matchup and 2 completely different outcomes.
Well, I think there were some similarities. So both games, the Chewbacca's blaster came out on R2. Mm-hmm. I think one difference was in target selection. So the Dengar Jango player targeted C-3PO instead of R2.
Yep.
So in killing C-3PO, he didn't take any damage off the board. Whereas in the first game, he killed R2, which killed R2 and the Chewbacca's blaster.
Right. We also saw significantly less bounties, which was extremely critical in the prior game because that gave a lot of gas to the bounty hunters because a lot of their abilities proc off of, if you have a bounty, do a thing. And none of those came out, and none of those, like, Dengar never triggered.
And potentially most importantly, the pulse cannon was never resolved. Yeah,
it came out a turn too late to really make an impact. Even though it rolled out damage that was extremely deadly, it never had an opportunity to resolve and then power action into just gross amounts of damage.
So congratulations to Steve, who moves on. And
yeah. So we're going to be moving on to the next round. We're going to take a break here, so thank you very much for joining us. This is the Chance Cube, so if you're enjoying this stream, definitely let them know. Like them, follow them, subscribe to them. I don't know. Buy them a beer? Is that appropriate? I don't know. Buy them some wings.
I think it is.
We're getting the shrug. We got thumbs up for wings and shrugs for beer, so we'll take. Okay, well, there you go. So it's family friendly, but wings are good for everybody. So thank you for watching. We'll get ready for round 3. Go get yourself a snack, and we'll be right back.
This coverage of Star Wars Destiny is supported in part by our patrons. The Chance Cube wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the support of our patrons. We appreciate each and every one of you who generously support us in our mission to explore Star Wars Destiny and educate players along the way. We couldn't do it without you. If you would like to join our friends in high places, then head over to patreon.com/The Chance Cube. $1 a month goes a long way to maintaining and growing content like this and much more. And special thanks to Jim Goss, Derek Bertram, and Nathan Henderson for their generous support as top-tier patrons.